All right, happy Thursday. This is Dawn Reeby, CEO of Excellence in Analytics, and I'm excited to be here with you in our Tribe of Excellence Facebook community. We have a very special guest coming on board, Anna Leibel, and she'll be talking with us about 3D leadership. So I'm really happy to be here. Hey, Caroline, I see that you're popping on here. So good to see you. Let's see, there we go. And so, it's beautiful outside, right? There's so much joy going on right now. You are joining on in here, ready to get moved by Anna and the wonderful tips that she has to really help us understand these three components, this 3D way of leadership, right? Of leadership. Oh, thank you, Caroline. Thank you. Got my hair cut. Are we good with straight? Or are we into curly? I don't know. It's a little bit of both, right? And so here we are in our Tribe of Excellence Facebook community. Hey, Anna, so good that you are here. We're going to pop you in just a second. Ria's here, Michelle's here, and we're going to go ahead and bring Anna on here to really share with us all about 3D leadership and how you can up-level your own leadership. Hello, Renee. So good to see you here. Welcome. If you are here live, thank you, Anna. So if you are here live, then go ahead and let me know. Say I am live. Give me some special emoji, Steve. You too. Go ahead and give us a special emoji, maybe a sunshine because it's so sunny outside right now. And if you are here listening to the replay, if you're here with Anna and myself on the replay, then go ahead and type in replay. We want to know that you are here too. Whether you're listening to the live or to the replay, we want to hear from you. So you're going to get some great energy. Anna's from Iceland, and she has, some crazy amazingness to her. You're going to see in just a moment. So Anna, if you want to go ahead and click the little button there. Ria's here live. Welcome, Ria. So glad that you are here. I am getting ready to see Ria in person in just a little bit. We fly down to Florida. So right now I'm in New Hampshire. We're going to be flying down to Florida. Let me get you on here, Anna. There. In just a couple of days after the last day of school and dance recitals, we'll be heading down there to see Ria and Andrew and Donna and Christiane and Angelica and all the folks down in Florida. Come up to me, say hello. I'm dying to be the speaker down there because I'm dying to see all of these amazing humans down there. Yes, Sharon, I'm glad that you are here too. All right, here we go. We have Anna who's joining us here. Wonderful. We can see
Hey,
you.
Dawn.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. I just need to adjust my phone because it told me that I had to rotate it, so now it's a bit twisted.
You're good. Yeah.
You're gonna see me a bit twisted. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with me, Anna. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. So Anna, you can't see the comments, but I'm going to chime in and, kind of interrupt throughout and say, hey, we got some comments and questions for you and everything else. But I just, everyone's saying hi to you right now, by the way, Michelle and Ria and Steve and Caroline.
Hi, everyone.
And you are just gorgeous. Look at those beautiful earrings, that beautiful smile,
Thank
all the way
you.
from far, far away. Coming to us.
half the way across the pond.
Half the way across the pond. Yes. So Anna and I met through a program called Advance. And this program is for 6 and 7 figure leadership entrepreneurs who are really looking to up their game. And when I saw Anna, we were actually placed in the same group, our pods, our networking group. And when I saw Anna, I was just like, I gotta connect with this woman. She's amazing in so many ways. And turns out she's so in tune with what we do here in our group. So I'm really excited for her to share some of that with you. We're getting some comments about your earrings. They are loving them.
Oh, thank you. My daughter loves playing with them as well. I always feel like she will probably tear them out of my ears, but so far it hasn't happened.
No, that's not good. I am like earring less because I'm afraid I will tear them out. I will tear them out. So, excuse me. So Anna coaches, leaders in the corporate industry. She helps them, really rise their thinking specifically related to breaking the glass ceiling for women in terms of leadership. So she works with men and helps them at that bigger level really create opportunities for multiple genders, right? And so she's going to explain it way better, but I just wanted to intro her slightly here. So Anna, let us know what part of the world you are from, because we do have quite a bit of international folks here. And so let us know what part of the world you are from and a little bit about what you do and how you serve.
Absolutely, Dawn. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure and an honor to serve your audience here, and I hope and I will do my best to bring as much value as possible because I know the plank is high when I'm coming into your group because you are amazing at serving your people. I've been in your masterclass, one of them, and just saw you shining and really bringing so much brilliance and excellence into the lives of people that you serve. And I see you serving us in the pod, in the network all the time as well. And you're just fantastic. So it's a great pleasure to be connecting with you and your people here.
Likewise.
And talking about myself, I'm actually Ukrainian originally, but at the moment I'm calling from Iceland, which is my home since 2.5 years ago. So I'm in a cold area. I'm looking at you with your tank top and a bit envious.
It's hot. It's hot. It was 90 degrees, 95 last week, and it's about 85 right now. But it's pretty toasty. It's pretty toasty. What's the
that never happens here. So all those clothes have been packed for me in the boxes far, far away, somewhere in the storage.
What's the temperature where you are right now?
Well, I live in Celsius metric in the metric system, so here it's around 10 degrees Celsius. So if anyone can translate that, please help us out here.
Yes,
but I think
all
it's
right. Who are my
30-ish.
Go ahead and translate, my smarties. No. Who can translate 10 degrees Celsius into Fahrenheit so I can understand?
or can Google quickly.
Or you can Google it quickly. We'll have a special prize, right?
Yeah, for sure. We can arrange some. So, and while people are Googling, I can say a bit or expand a bit more on what you talked about with the glass ceiling. So as you said, I'm working with male leaders and I call myself a mind shifter that tells you from the name what it is. Like I help them shift their mind. So it's not a mindset coach really. It's a bigger thing. I really help them start thinking differently. Yeah. And the male leaders I work with are either entrepreneurial leaders, so they have their own startups, their founders or the CEOs of the startups in tech world, or smaller corporations. So my sweet spot is up to 250 or 300 people. I've been myself in the corporate and project management in bigger corporations and global ones with multi-thousand people, but right now it's really this sweet spot of helping leaders there. And I help them get out of the firefighter mode and become the proactive leaders that they can be and they know they can be and they want to be, and also enjoy the ride more. And I know that you are also talking a lot about this kind of zone of genius and really stepping into like, okay, what do I enjoy doing? And work with that and design your work and your life so that you actually be like in that zone a bit more often and as often as possible. So that's what I work with as well.
Which is amazing. So we've had it, we figured it out. There are several people Googling like crazy, and it is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So,
all right.
So 10 degrees Celsius equals 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we are, here's 50, if we were like 90, like imagine how hot that is.
I know that way, but I don't know the other way around. So I know what is hot from the Fahrenheit, from which one it's hot. Just couldn't translate, but thanks a lot everyone for Googling.
Yes. And so, you work with people to really, help them think at a different level. A lot of the stuff that you were just saying here really relates to this group here. The firefighting, right? And so the putting out the fires, I think is very relatable to this group. This group is a social service environment group, and they, we have many people in law enforcement and fire and EMS in public sector. Maybe they're working at a hospital and someone comes in and you are putting out fires left and right. And so you really work with those folks to stop only putting out fires and really become more proactive in their thinking and in their energies and in their self-care. So that's wonderful.
And it's so important what you all here are doing. It's really what drives our society and keeps us together, right? So huge thanks to you all. It's very important. And I'm happy that you are in Dawn's tribe here, because she's really the one who can help you get out of that firefighter mode and become the leaders who you want to be for yourself, for your dear ones at home and in your private life, but also in your workplace.
Thank you. And we actually have some small business owners here too. and and some corporate folks. And so for those folks who are corporate and business, Anna is the one for you. So we do very similar work, but with different platforms. And so I'm excited to have you here. So tell us, well, first of all, is anyone else here from Ukraine or Iceland or anywhere, farther along there? I want to give you the opportunity to shout out to your neighbor and, let her know that you're here seeing her. And, so while y'all are doing that, I'd love for you to just share, why you work with this level. Like, why do you work with men in this corporate environment to really bring them up to a higher level of thinking?
Thanks for asking, Dawn. So I'll roll back a bit in the history and really kind of bring you a bit on the journey quickly here. When I started working with the corporate people and decided that I will serve not individuals on a personal development level, but more like leadership level, which was kind of getting more and more people were attracted to me in that space. I first thought I would be working with female leaders in tech because that's my background. I've been in the different industries and quite techy ones, and it's also my education and in project management. And I knew the struggles of that. I knew the insights of that, and I knew how tough it is to be a female leader in that space. So I wanted to help those who used to be like me or who are how I used to be. But the more I was networking with people, decision makers in the companies, the more I realized, okay, I'm actually networking with men.
Yeah.
And my goal with networking with them was actually to get me to help their female leaders in their organization, so mid-level leadership and so on. But in the conversations, I realized that they're opening up to me about their own leadership struggles, not talking about their female leaders. And I realized that is such an underserved population. Of course, there is executive leadership and so on, but my strength and my gift is to create a safe space for people to share and to start exploring themselves. And I saw that so many men, so many fantastic leaders who want to be good, vulnerable, present, authentic leaders that we're talking about, that leadership is important with those characteristics nowadays, they didn't know how to do it because they were never brought up to be vulnerable, to understand their feelings, to express their emotions and those kind of things. And it happens naturally in the conversations with me for them. And that's why I decided to shift my focus and work with the top leaders, because those are in those positions, in the decision maker positions, right, in organizations. And by me transforming their mind, but by me really triggering this kind of new way of thinking for them, we're creating the ripple effects and transforming the whole culture within the organizations.
Yes.
Because culture is always built from top. Of course, you have some bottom-up movements, but the culture really has to come from the top.
Yeah, and so when you talk about, like, you get in front of these, males, right? These male leaders, and you're thinking that you're talking about something else, right? Oh, they think they're talking about something else. But then you come to realize that the real challenge often lies within, and they don't have a space to discuss this anywhere else. You have to be on top. You have to know your game. You have to, have a certain thing about you where people can trust you. And so often that vulnerability, there's a big wall in front of it, right? And so the work that you do, allowing them a safe space to really have discussion around their own vulnerabilities, is going to have that trickle effect, but it needs to start with them. It needs to start with them. That's great. And it reminds me, we had author Mike Marino on here, and then Dave Mather, speaking about just that, about how, especially author Mike Marino in his book, really talking about that internal review and creating a space to do that reflection. And oftentimes it's very difficult for you to do it by yourself as a leader, because you're looking at all these other people and your attention is there. So swoop, you come in and you're like, no, now the focus is you. And so how do these conversations go? Like, what are their biggest fears? What are the things that they struggle with the most? And how do you serve them in that way?
I love that you mentioned the word reflection, Dawn, because this is one of the most powerful tools to really have. And this is one of the tools that I give to every single client of mine. All the other tools I pick up, it's a smorgasbord where you will pick up what they need in their particular situation, with their particular character and so on. But the reflection is really something that everyone takes with them. And talking about what happens within our conversations and what kind of fears we're talking about, quite often they come to me with the questions about their relationships with their employees, whether it's given feedback, for example, or having clarity about how to move the company forward and so on. And 80% of our work is actually internal, on their self-leadership, on their personal development. Just because, as you said, this internal reflection is so important. Without having this strong home base, we can't go out and serve our people.
Yes.
We,
Yes.
we become self-occupied if we haven't done that work on ourselves.
Exactly.
And
I'm
we
gonna
turn everything and we project ourselves. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to pause you there for a moment because I want to give folks here the opportunity to just really absorb that. So really, what you're talking about is this. It has to start from within, and there are real fears. There are real sentiments. There's real emotion that comes along with the responsibility of leading other people. And so, if anyone here is feeling like I'm the one responsible for all this. And if you find yourself looking outward often, right? Looking outward often, and that's you, and you're trying to like manage this or manage that, or maybe you're not leading a team of people. Maybe you're the one being managed by those other folks, and you feel you're looking outward a lot. Anna brings up a great point, which is looking inward. And this is so true in our personal lives too. We try to say our husbands, our wives are doing this and that wrong in our front, and what other people are doing, but the real reflection comes within. And so we're going to dive into this 3D concept, which I love, by the way, and share with this crew here. You folks here, go ahead in the chat and share with us if you feel comfortable, right? Share with us, is that you? Is that you right now where you've been looking outward very often, right? Like you've been looking at what other people are doing, and now you're saying, well, maybe I should be looking inward a little bit because of this conversation. So I'm going to let them write that in the chat, but then I'm going to invite you, Anna, to continue with this conversation around the 3D piece.
Absolutely. I just want to tap into what you said, Dawn, before we go into the 3D leadership, which we already started, and you understand why I say so. But I always want to make sure that when we're talking about these questions, like what is my part of this conflict, of this situation, misunderstanding, miscommunication, and so on, I'm not putting the blame on you. Yeah. I'm actually giving you your power back.
Exactly.
And this is a very important shift to make in your mind, because when you start thinking about what is my part here, you actually have all the power to change that part.
That's right.
You can never change people who are around you. Of course, we have a lot of illusions about that, and we can be naive and be hopeful and so on. Talking about the example about wives and husbands.
Yeah.
But the best part is changing our part of the equation. And that creates the ripple effect. And that creates some kind of energy that changes the other person.
It's so
and even
true.
if that doesn't happen, you've changed your part, you've changed your attitude. Stephen Covey, I'm sure many of you have heard about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's one of the books that changed my life.
One of my favorite books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the 8th Habit. That's another great book. But yes, sorry, go ahead. I love that book.
In the first habit, he's talking about the circle of influence and circle of concern, right? So we can start about so many things in the world. Like all the things that are happening, all the conflicts that are happening somewhere, and so on and so forth. But how much of that can you affect? You're spending your energy on thinking about those things. But if you instead focus on the circle of influence, so those things that you can actually affect, then your energy goes to something constructive. And the thing is that it doesn't mean that you just focus on some tiny thing. By focusing on your circle of influence, you keep growing it, because you get other people on board. And here we're talking about the leadership, right? And that is a very important part, right? Getting people on board. So by working on yourself and working on things that you can affect, like your part of the conflict, your part of the situation and miscommunication and so on, you're actually expanding your circle of influence and getting other people on board. So I want to really emphasize this, that hope it motivates you to start asking yourself that question. Whenever you're annoyed by anyone, be it like, I don't know, some driver that cut you off when you're driving. Think about it like, yeah, he's annoying, but what in me is threatened? And what is my part in that?
Yes. And
did I start wandering around like away with my thoughts and like was less like attentive and on the road, and that's why I got scared and annoyed. So start asking those questions for yourself to get the power back.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually talking to somebody who wanted me to say hi to you today, Kathy Kestens. She wanted me to say hi to you. She's like, I love Anna. And so we actually had this conversation this morning with, leaders, right? Even the ones right here, you might not be supervising a group right now, maybe or maybe not. And whether or not you are, if you have this leadership in your mind, you try to change everything. You're just kind of like, a shiny object, right? Like you're just, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And what you're really saying and highlighting in the Stephen Covey book is this idea of focusing on your sphere of influence, focusing on, what's directly in front of you, right? Which is you first. And then what's directly in front of you, the things that you can impact. And I love that you're bringing in the thinking concept, which is, why am I so stressed out about this one thing? Right? Why am I getting stressed out about the guy cutting me off? And how can I, is that within my influence? Is that within my, bandwidth essentially, to really create a change? Steve says, seems like I'm sorry, Steve. Steve says, I might bounce back and forth a bit between introspective and outward examination. Yeah.
And we all go through that, Steve. You're not alone. Like even the people like me and Dawn who are actually helping our clients through that, we also have those periods when we kind of go outwards and just like get into that spinning. But the beauty of this process is that we are much quicker and catching that. And that's the thing that you can practice, right? That's the muscle that you can train.
Yes.
And
talking about training the muscle, you came, so Anna delivered a group presentation to our group, and she wanted to deliver a service. And so she walked us through, you're getting a lot of love here, by the way. So she walked us through this process, right, of gratitude, of identifying and sitting with our emotions. Because far too often leaders, even if you've gotten to the point of identifying those emotions, you kind of boot them off and you're just like, next thing, right? And so Anna really allowed us to be uncomfortable with some of the reflection. And that experience rubbed off on me so much that I tried to replicate it and did not do it justice for our private group. And you'll have to come do it for our private group, because
I would be happy to, of course.
Because it's so powerful. What she does is so powerful, because often we identify this emotion, right? If we even get there, we identify the emotion and then we, scoot it aside. And Anna's like, be uncomfortable and absorb it, know it, breathe it, feel it, and then move on after the reflection piece. So I love that. So sorry to cut you off. Go right ahead. You keep on talking.
No. It's not an interruption. It's a conversation. I love it, Dawn. Thanks so much for the feedback. And I'm happy that I was able to create a space for you beautiful ladies, and that you took it with you to your clients. It's wonderful. The important part in this is really thinking that when you go through the motions, you need to go through them, right? The only way out is through.
Yes. The only way out is through. I want every single person to write that in the chat right now. The only way out is through. I'm out. You're coining that right now. The only way out is through. And I will be honest with you, being in law enforcement for 22 plus years, that's not the answer. That was not in my brains. Our brain was, shut it off,
shut out,
and go around, and it's someone else is dealing with it, right? Yes, Rhea and Caroline. And so what Anna's presenting is this key. Like, this is a key thing right here. And so that's why I want to pause here, because the only way out is through. It makes you get uncomfortable. It makes you reflect. It forces you to truly dive into that piece that needs to be moved, that mountain that needs to be moved. And so for those folks who are in fire and EMS and law enforcement, you're used to not doing that. You're used to shutting it off, just like I was. You have to some degree to be responsive. But when we practice that in our own development, right, that's what's the pause. Yes, Michelle, Steve, a bunch of you are chiming on in here, and you're exactly right. The only way out, and I'm gonna put quotes around this one, because this is all about Anna's little quote here. The only way out is through. This is beautiful. So go right ahead and continue to share about that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I bring it. I get it landed home as well, that you don't have to go through it alone as well. That's a very important part of that, right? It's uncomfortable, just as Dawn said, when going through the emotions that you have been maybe suppressing and avoiding, facing them and so on. it's a very uncomfortable and sometimes very painful and scary process. So find someone whom you trust, find someone whom you feel safe around, and ask for help. That was one of the other questions, right, Dawn, that we did, like I asked you to write to journal about in the group. What do I need help with? And that question can be addressed inwards or to the higher power, whatever your faith or belief is in, or it can be someone else whom you could ask for help, someone within your family, someone at work. So make sure that you get this inspiration from us today, from this conversation, but then also go and take action, right? And commit to taking action. And this is another thing I wanted to write here. I commit to taking action today.
Yes, today.
And think about, yeah.
So
for you, it's still quite early. For most of you, you're still early afternoon, so you still have some time to take action today.
Well, and I think they are taking action right now as they're writing in the comments. You know, whether they're here live or for the replay, they're writing in. You know, the only way out is through, and so you know you can continue to take action right now by putting in the things that you struggle with, the pieces that putting it out there to the universe, you know, that these are the things that I'm walking through today. These are the things that I'm committed to walking through, you know, and for me, for a long time, it was a scarcity mindset, right? It was living in this mode of like, there's not going to be enough, right? Yes, exactly, Steve. Steve is very philosophical.
Tell me what he's writing. I can't see the comments.
I know. Cobra Kai text. Yes, sounds like something from Cobra Kai. So and so, you know, when I think about you know, on my personal journey, and Anna, I'm sure you have the things that you've plowed through. It was really shifting that scarcity mindset of there's not going to be enough. There's not going to be enough time. There's not going to be enough money. There's not going to be enough this or that. Shifting and plowing through that. Why do I feel that way? Like sitting with it. Why? Because I have major mama guilt, right? Or, you know, whatever the reason is, and plowing through that so that we can get to that other side, which is abundance and joy and all the stuff that we talk about in our group. So I love that we're plowing through the fear, plowing through the paradigm, creating those shifts. I think about Sherry, you know, and her really talking about the paradigm shift. And so you move people who might not have somebody to explore this with, right? Because you're another set of binoculars, right? So you can't change if you're working with the same set of binoculars. And so you move leaders, male leaders in corporate environments through these things that they struggle with to get them, you know, to that other side. So it's wonderful. So tell me, like the 3D leadership model. Tell me about this 3D leadership model.
Yeah, finally we're getting to that, right? The whole topic for today.
Yes.
So I came up with this concept of three-dimensional leadership in the tech context of COVID, that we're all living in a new virtual reality. And I still wanted to keep the leadership three-dimensional. So alive, not only kind of 2D, we're just seeing the plain faces on the screens, but keeping our leadership journey and ourselves as leaders as 3D model. And the three dimensions are one-to-many, one-to-one, and one. And those are the dimensions in which I see every leader leading. In the dimension of one-to-many, you're leading a team. That can be your community. It can be some team at work if you're a supervisor or in a managerial position. So you are creating a relationship with several people at the same time. And in this dimension, we often talk about that it's important for a leader to bring people on board, right? To share the purpose, to be the person who is the captain of this ship and keep it moving forward, right? And sometimes the leaders whom I'm interviewing in my podcast, Genius Leadership, they're talking about that this is the role who is like some spring in between or running between being the captain and being the first in the line, and then running and being the last in the line to make sure that everyone is still on board, right? Everyone is still moving towards the same direction and so on. So the second dimension is the one-to-one. Those are relationships you build with every of your employees. It's also relationships that you build with your partner, for example, with some friends of yours, your family members, your kids. And here I want to emphasize those outside of work contexts as well, because in that dimension, it gets clear to you that you can be a leader, and every one of us is a leader.
Yeah.
You don't have to have this. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to have an official title, official supervision role to be a leader and to influence people. And in those relationships, it's important to think about creating the relationship of trust. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna shut my window. We have the lawnmower going in the background. Sorry about that, guys.
Classics, right?
When you were talking about the one to many, it reminded me. We had a guest speaker here, Alvin Schwab, who really in high military status, and he leads a team of federal, or he leads a team of law enforcement folks. And so he talked about showing up ready to be the excellent one, like showing up. So having that mentality of one to many, we're different now because we're together, let's do this. And so it sounds like you're talking a lot about that too.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good point of bring it up as well in the dimension.
Yeah. Sure. So the first one is one to many, and then the second level of this 3D term that you've coined is one to one. How incredibly important it is to have these relationships with folks where you're connecting on this one-to-one platform, in such a meaningful and impactful way, whether they're employees or not, whether they're like for us, for instance, being able to, we did our one-to-one Zoom and we're like, oh my God, I love this person. And so, you find these people who rise you and who you can rise, and it's, and it's remarkable. So you got the one to many, you got the one-on-one, and then what's the last component?
The last one is one, but I want to roll back quickly because I want to give an actionable steps a bit for each of the dimensions. And for one-to-one, it would be, if we talk about the leadership in the work context, the research has been showing that the strong one-to-one relationship in a positive way, is built often with smaller interactions. So the leaders who are seen most successful in the 360-degree assessments and those kind of evaluations, they are the ones who are following up with their folks often. And that's the thing, that you create this continuity of the feeling for the person that I'm seen, I'm heard. If there is anything, I can bring it up. I don't have to bring up something every single time that my manager or my leader is checking in with me, but I have this opportunity often. I don't have to wait for another monthly review, a quarterly conversation, whatever it is. This person, this leader is here for me. Yes.
And so your action step, you're really talking about the folks creating, Caroline says, often with small interactions, small baby steps are super important. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And so intentionally creating these environments, whether you're in a leadership role or not, creating intentionally these environments of open communication, of I value you are, of value to me. I appreciate you. And so that person can always feel comfortable coming to you. I've seen leaders, we actually have a leadership group this week on Tuesday, this past Tuesday. Our study topic was retention strategies. And that was one of the retention strategies, is to set up some formalized process, or informal, right? But some process of, connecting with folks on a one-to-one basis in a way that supports them, supports the morale, the integrity of the team, the core values, all of that stuff, so that you all can communicate, on good, bad, ugly, everything, right? So I love that you're bringing that topic up. Fantastic.
So important. And then lastly, we go to the dimension of one. And that's the dimension we've already started discussing and discussed for the first half of the conversation here, which is yourself, leading yourself. And as we discussed already, it's very important to get into that habit of leading yourself. And again, here I want to emphasize, you don't have to have an official leadership role in your organization to be a leader, right? We all have our lives, we all have ourselves. So even if we don't have any relationships, we live in a cave and we're completely alone or some uninhabited island, we can still be leaders of ourselves and our lives.
Exactly. Renee says, I started one-on-one meetings that aren't mine. They are meeting versus team members. Call me too. It's theirs. Renee was actually one of our guest speakers. She's phenomenal. She was one of our guest speakers on building retreats for her staff, so that they could really feel loved and appreciated and get outside of the work environment and boost creativity and all that fun stuff. So awesome session. If you guys have not already seen that, that's a great one. And then Dr. Eve Solomon was on as well, talking about this very thing, really looking at yourself and sometimes like, you could read all the books you want. I've read a ton of books, right? But when you're with a coach like myself or like Anna, you have someone guiding you with a perspective that you maybe haven't seen before. And that's really critical for some of that internal introspection. So I appreciate that. Beautiful.
Yeah, I just last week or the beginning of this week got an email from one of my clients who was saying last session I usually send a summary of our session with my notes, and he usually sends his reflections before reading my summary so that it's kind of not biased. And he said, "This session was really uncomfortable. You pushed me and you challenged me. Thank you for that." Yes. And that's my job, really, to call you out, because like you're a leader, no one is there to do that for you, and it's very important. And he said, I so appreciate it because you are pointing out to the things that I maybe my actions right now are not following my values that we have discussed and we defined with him what his values are, and I've seen some potential of kind of him derailing from that. And I just really went into that uncomfortable situation just because, as we said, the only way through is like, or the only way out is through, right?
Yeah.
So he had to go through that discomfort to discuss and see, I want to be this ultimate best version of myself, follow those values, but at the same time, here I'm doing something else. So how can I align those things back together?
Right, exactly. And so, I'm going to ask you all folks here, are you in a position right now, in leadership or not, where you are asking yourself what Anna's talking about, which is, do I want to be a better version of myself, but I'm contradicting myself in a sense because I'm not pushing through? And let's talk about what that could look like, right? So for some people, do I want to be a better version of myself? Well, I want to stop jumping from fire to fire to fire to fire, right? So I want my staff to feel energized and loved and cared about and all that stuff. But are you changing that? Are you the best version of yourself? Are you taking your own lunches? Are you creating margin in your own life? Are you not jumping from fire to fire because you're implementing more proactive strategies, right? And so let's think about that for a second. I think about, it happens in my world, and I'm sure it happens in Anna's world too.
Yeah.
Where, that's why we teach it, right? Because we've been through it, right? And so I think about, we're going to Florida next week with my girls, right? So I'm so thankful. Rhea Gerstenkorn asked us to keynote, well, not us, my kids are not keynote speaking. So she asked me to keynote speak down there. And my daughter's dream, my little one's dream, has been to swim with Winter the dolphin. Right? Which is a movie about Winter the dolphin who lost the tail. And so she's wanted to always meet Winter the dolphin. And, and I was living in scarcity mindset for years and years. I'm like, no, we can't spend money to go down there and do that. Like it's not worth it. And then the Florida Intel Crime Analysis Association, it's like this big long thing. FCIAA, eloquent keynote if she wants. Fantastic. Thank you, Rhea. And so she probably would. And so, I found this opportunity to merge these two worlds and to really catch myself and and push through that scarcity mindset and book the tickets and say, we're doing this, and we're doing this as a family, and we're going down there, and we're gonna, meet all these beautiful people and hopefully inspire and change worlds, right? And have my two girls, my 24-year-old and my 10-year-old, there watching all this happen and being part of all of this, and hopefully inspiring this group further to really get connected with this work-life integration piece. So I had to move myself out of scarcity mindset and spending the money. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a few $1,000s to go down. Like, where am I putting my money, right? And so, and then I'm like, are you kidding? Get out of scarcity mindset, get your butt down there and see, yeah, exactly, Steve, and see, right? And see all these beautiful people and experience and be present and be part of this and be abundant and be joyous and bring my family along for the ride. And so that's what we're doing. And so I love that you talk about pushing through these things, because we are at the other side now. And I know what it's like to be on the yucky side. And so if anyone here is struggling with one of those 3 dimensions that Anna talked about, whether it's one-to-many, one-on-one, or one, right? You can reach out to Anna or to myself and get pushed through it and get through this piece of it, because it's that important that you do. I will tell you, the life before this was no bueno. it was not a happy world. It was, you know, like scrounging, and I don't have to scrounge and move through that. And now I cannot wait. We have Andrew Butts down there. He's a client of ours, and more than that, he's a wonderful human. We have Christiane down there. We have Angelica down there. We have Rhea. We have Donna. We have all kinds of folks down there. We have Celia down there. We have all these folks down there. I cannot wait to give a big hug if they're comfortable with that because of COVID, right? So give a big hug too, and like be present and be real and be, you know, just there. And it feels better to be on this side. So if you're still on that side of, you know, stress and anxiety around some of these key leadership pieces of your own life that you haven't been able to get through on your own, and I wasn't able to on my own. I hired coaches after you know, like multiple coaching programs, right? Hug away, says Rhea. I love it. You know, to get on that other side is incredible, and you're worth being there. And that's what Anna does with her clients, is she really gets them there. And going back to your comment around that trickle effect, you know, when you can bring someone to the other side, that trickles down to their staff members' happiness and joy, their families' happiness and joy. Yeah, Steve, you'll have to come down. There's a whole bunch of tribe members in Southern Florida. Yes, exactly. So if you were to give, I know we're wrapping up on our time. We're actually over our time, so thank you for letting us do that. But if you were to give one action step for leaders here who are, you know, thinking about this 3D leadership piece, if you were to give them one thing to do today, right now, to move that needle just a teeny bit, what would that be?
I would say start with the dimension of one. Invest in learning yourself, getting to know yourself, exploring, and be courageous for that. We know it's uncomfortable, we know it can be scary, but there is such a beauty in that process, not only in the result, also the journey. So start exploring. And you can start on your own. Just take the notebook and a pen that you most probably have already at home, and start reflecting on a daily basis, going back to the reflection as we discussed. Ask yourself, what am I proud of today? Because I'm sure that most of you are high performers, you're achieving a lot of things, you're doing a lot of great things that are so important in the society, but you never pat yourself on the shoulder for those. You never support yourself, you never acknowledge all the amazing things you're doing. So start writing down 3 things you're proud of or you're happy for in your day.
I love that. I love that, because you're right. These are high achievers here. These are people who are analysts or leaders or analyst leaders, or, you know, in some public sector arena, and they have a deep desire to serve. And so they are high performers and high achievers, and they want things that are really done well. And so when, you know, give Anna some love right now, because she's like hitting the nail on the head. When you want, you know, to start, you start with identifying you know, these three things. So it's phenomenal advice. So, you know, one of the things I'd love to do is to be able to share Anna's information with you all. So afterwards, I'm going to grab that information and I'll add it to this video here. And Anna, if anyone has any specific questions for you, is it okay for them to draft that here in this, and at some point you'll come on, circle back maybe in 24 hours to check in?
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free. And if I don't answer somehow, sometimes notifications are just buggy on LinkedIn or on Facebook. So just poke me in the DMs or so, and I will go back into the group to see them. Awesome. But of course, I'll be checking out and answering all your questions here.
Fantastic. Becky says thank you. Caroline says thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. You're a pleasure. You know, and I love your accent. I don't have an accent, you do, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, just kidding. Oh my gosh, half the people here, you know, I see Michelle from Texas, and, you know, Steve from Maine. We talk quickly the same, right, Steve? You know, you just have such a light about you, Anna, and I noticed that when we first met, and so I'm so thankful that you came to our group to share your 3D concept relative to leadership with our group. I think it's very, it can resonate with so many people, and, you know, and if you, if you're a leader in corporate industry, and you need an Anna in your life to really give you that space to discuss things that you might not be able to chat with other folks, then I'd love to share her contact information with you. She's done work in our group that I told you about earlier in this session, our Pod 7 crew, and she's phenomenal, and she will help you really push past any barriers. So thank you, Anna, for being here with us, for offering your time with our crew and your great energy and your great advice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn. I really love you dearly and respect you, and I'm very happy that we could share some pieces here with your audience.
I love it. I love it. All right, you all, we won't see you formally next week because we'll be in Florida, but be on the lookout. I'm hoping that we can pop in. We'll have to get clearance from FCIAA, but I'm hoping that we can pop in live on Wednesday when we are live with that crew there. So we might shake it up a little bit, but we'll have no live on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, as usually is scheduled. But yeah, we're going to pop in next week with the Florida crew. So thank you again, Anna. I can't wait to stay in touch with you. You rise me, and I love being around you. So thank you.
Likewise. And have a beautiful trip, Dawn.
Thank you. All right, bye all you. We'll see you pretty soon. Bye-bye.